Welcome to The Dirt. My name is Jamie and this is Jeremy. The Dirt is where we tell you a little bit about who we are, why we do what we do, why we think what we think. And today we are going to talk a little bit about our house build. This is the house that we built ourselves. We are not contractors, and yet about 5 years ago we moved to what was considered somewhat raw land, and we built this house.
You all have been probably following along over the past 3 years as we've gone through this journey. It's been a crazy adventure. If you're newer to the channel, we bought this place at the end of 2017 with the intention of finding a builder to build us a home in that following spring. And that didn't work, so.
And a lot of you guys are facing that right now as well. If you guys are trying to build a home yourself, you're finding that you cannot find a contractor, or that the contractors are booked out 2 to 3 years, or you're finding supply shortages, and perhaps you're considering building your own home, being your own self-contractor. And we're just gonna talk to you a little bit about our experience, share that with you guys, tell you about some of the highlights, some of the pitfalls we ran into, just to kind of give you a heads up and give you a little bit more information to make that decision for yourself.
So we haven't seen you guys for a couple of weeks. I haven't posted a video because we've been busy moving in, getting things sort of organized as best we can. There's still a lot to do, but it's so nice being moved in finally.
Especially with the heat wave coming.
Yeah, this week, 95, 98, 100 degrees in Charlotte. I don't want to mess with that, so we were lucky, fortunate. Got moved in, air conditioner works. Everything works, so I'm happy.
All right, so for those of you guys that are new to the channel, we're going to give you a real brief overview as to how we got here and what we built for ourselves on this property. So we moved here 2017.
We bought this place in November of 2017 with the intention of building the following spring, hiring a builder. I had an idea of what I wanted to have done. It's kind of similar to what we ended up with, but nothing worked. We could not get a builder, especially around here, out here in the middle of nowhere. And we couldn't find a builder that would be able to do kind of what I wanted to do. They probably could have put together a basic house, like you can get plans for, like 84 lumber and everything. But that's not really what we wanted to do. We wanted to build a permanent, last forever home that we're going to have forever. So
the house that we built is entirely our own design. We built a 30 by 40 footprint. We tried to design the smallest footprint that we could with the best resources that we could find, which is ICF. Now the basement is a 30 by 40 ICF build. The first floor is a 30 by 40 ICF, and then we have a partial half story on top of that, which has 2 guest rooms. The whole theory behind that was that we wanted to try, like I said, and have the smallest footprint possible. The house actually looks much bigger than it actually is just because of the way that we designed it. We wanted it to be very open. And some of the features of the house are that we designed the first floor has all of the main features, such as the laundry room, the kitchen, the master bedroom, bathroom, everything that you would need should there be any incident where we would be in a wheelchair, for example. And that includes the showers, which are curbless showers, so that we could access the shower if we were incapacitated. We have wide doorways. We also have a wide walkways as well.
So we took a 30 by 40 footprint and I designed this in a program and trying to make 3-foot wide doors and 4-foot wide walkways and fit all of your stuff into such a small footprint was a challenge, but we did it. And it, like she said, it looks huge on the outside. People always say, why did you build such a monster house? It's not actually that big. It just looks really big the way we designed it. Another thing that makes it look real big is this huge wraparound porch, which was part of the design from the beginning. If we had not done the porches, it would just look like a box. So it was all thought out and intentional. All the materials, all of the features, everything were well insulated, long lasting,
low maintenance,
aluminum rails and columns, steel shingled roof, insulated concrete. Concrete's not going to go anywhere. So I'm confident that we have a very solid build. And so far, having lived here full time now for about 3 weeks, I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy too. So in 2017, we moved out here. We came up with these plans and we tried to find a builder to build it. And we looked for a year and a half and we could not find a builder. And it was getting to the point where we're living in our temporary residence, which is a no-value trailer that is on the property. It's down over the hill. Our intention was to only live in that trailer for about a year, maybe a year and a half max. And
The intention was to move here in November and start building in the following spring. So, yeah, 9-10 months maybe was our intention.
And a year and a half later, we cannot find a builder. We have this house designed, no builder, and we're at the point where we're like, either we need to move or we need to figure out something else.
Yeah. Nobody would return phone calls, and if they did, they wouldn't show up. So I was faced with, do I try to build something myself, maybe scale down what I originally planned, maybe do more of a cabin type of deal, and neither one of us wanted to do that. We wanted to build our forever home, and we wanted to do it right with quality materials that would last forever. So I wrestled with that for a while, and I went through a bunch of designs that I made for different places and different places on the property. We finally settled on this place and this design, and I decided, however long it takes, we're going to do it. And if you've been with us for that duration, you know it took a while. So
why don't you talk a little bit about like your process? So as someone that doesn't really have a contracting background, your background's actually in IT. You said
right.
you know how to swing a hammer, but
right.
you really don't know how to build a home. So
I would say now, having done this, if you're out there and you're trying to figure out if this is something you can do, I think if you're relatively handy and can figure out how to read blueprints and take your time and work through a process, sort of like a project management sort of thing, break things down into tasks. I think anyone could do this to whatever degree you want. Again, for me, it took a long time because I did crazy unconventional things like the way this house is built. It's not a stick-built, normal, frame it, skin it, dry it in, rock and roll. Everything about this is weird. So that's why another reason why it took so long, but I was pretty confident that I could do it, and I went down that rabbit hole, and first thing I did was get my design done, and as we said, we designed it with certain traits to make it less expensive. So it's a rectangle, 4 corners. Fewer corners you have, the less expensive it is. It's tall instead of wide, so the footprint, you're not pouring a ton of concrete. The trade-offs there are you have stairs, so when you get into your later years, you may have stairs. The answer to that is, like she said, we put everything on the one main floor. So having come up with that design, now it's time to figure out how all the materials we're going to put into it, because you have tons of options. You can do simple, you can do more higher end, better grade materials, and it's all about budget. So we try to do this debt-free while we were off-grid, and that also was a huge challenge. So I guess my background has been in project management for quite a while, and it came down to figuring out every penny, where it was going to go, where we could get deals, what we could substitute if we couldn't find what we needed to find, and getting all the materials lined up, and then finding subcontractors, which is just as much of a nightmare, if not more so, than trying to find a general contractor to run your build.
The biggest challenge that we ran into in this location is we're new to the area, and the subcontractors around here deal with contractors that they're already familiar with. So to have some homeowner come up to them and say, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, when they already have a long list of contractors that they know are going to pay them and that they know are going to give them work, it's kind of hard to get them out there. So really we had to build a rapport with several of get a subcontractor in, build a rapport with them, and then we went from referrals from there. And that was really, that took a long time.
That was the big key thing. It took a long time to get ramped up in terms of finding subs, but once I found the one guy that I really wanted, or actually I ended up talking to someone referred me to the lady I bought the windows and doors from, who was excellent, and she referred me to the guy who framed it, did all my framing. He was awesome at it, and then from there it kind of, they work with people all the time, and then they weed out the guys who aren't that good and they stick with the guys who are good. So that made it a lot easier. Once you find one that's a good contractor, they can help you find all your other trades. Electrician, plumber, the guy, Stan, the man who did our tile, he did a great job. And then JP, who did our stucco and all of our stone. We did have quite a few subs, and I did do quite a bit myself. So you can do it. It's just hard.
And it takes a long time.
It takes a while, depending on how much of the work you want to do yourself. The more work you do yourself, the more money you can save, the more sweat equity you have. Do all your own painting and all the things that you definitely can do, and sub the rest out. You can take on as much or as little as you want and adjust your budget accordingly. But you can do it.
Okay, so we got our ICF up, and we are building our second floor. We got our lumber for that, and we have our project, we have our budget. We even have a little bit of extra accounted for in case of inflation, and all of a sudden, bam, COVID hit. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Right. We were fortunate that we had Bob just finish our framing, and then a week after that, COVID hit, and lumber started going up through the roof. We couldn't get lumber, and a lot of people who were trying to build houses at that time ended up spending like $30,000 or $40,000 more just for their lumber package. So that was a big hit. Like I said, we got a little lucky there, but in other ways we weren't so lucky because it got worse and worse, and as the lockdowns happened and the supply chain was interrupted and all this other stuff, you just could not get materials. Windows and doors now. If you're trying to build right now, good luck getting windows and doors.
Good luck getting a lot of things.
That's one of the big things, though. And our appliances, we ordered
2 years for our refrigerator.
In 2020, we ordered and paid for our appliance package, and we just got them 3 weeks ago. And the holdup was the refrigerator because KitchenAid just shut down. So we were fortunate that we were on the tail end of that in our process, and the other thing that was okay was I was doing a lot of this myself, ordering the materials, and if it said 6 weeks for the stuff to come in, which would normally be the next day, I would be okay with that because I could work on other projects and just schedule. So that kind of worked out for me. But for guys who are trying to build a house and boom, get it done, it's like, you cannot get stuff. So that's one thing to be concerned about and aware of if you are considering building your own house right now, availability of materials. And the cost.
So the big question is would we do it again? You know, we're later on in our years, and when we started this, it was 5 years ago. We had no intention of this project taking 5 years. When we did our research, it was like it's always going to take a lot longer than you think it is. And you know, we added in that extra 6-month buffer time just in case on top of that year. And from the time we moved out here until we just moved in, it took us about 5 years. The whole actual building process itself from the time we broke ground, about 3 years. And a lot of that is because, you know, we're working linearly, waiting for a project to complete before starting the next one, waiting for subcontractors, waiting for prices to come down, waiting for supplies to come in. One of the reasons that we built this place is so that the kids would have their own rooms and have more space, and so that we could expand on our homesteading. And now the kids are off to college. So, you know, time just went by, got away from us, and this project just kind of consumed us. And to be perfectly honest, it was very, very hard. The last couple of years have been very challenging for that reason alone. And would we do it again? I personally, at this phase in my life, knowing what I know, I would not do it again. Would you?
I would, if I were still in my mid-30s, I would absolutely do it again. But at this point in my life, I don't think I could do it again. I just mentally I can't go there anymore. I'm so glad to be finished with this. I enjoy building things and designing and making things, but doing a whole house is a challenge, and you got to be 100% all the time. It was every day, 7 days a week for 3 years. Quite
literally. He got up every single day, came up here and built this house, and at one point he got injured, and
I pulled my back.
And we were a little concerned about that was going to, you know, impede the project.
That kind of actually set us back almost a year when that happened, because I couldn't pick things up, and that's bad, and I was concerned. But eventually it healed, and I'm better now than I was. So you got to be wary of that too, especially when you're working by yourself. You got to be careful. You have to be always thinking, you know.
So, I mean, now that it's done, I'm so glad that we have this house. I love this house. It's beautiful. At this point, we plan on staying in it forever. But boy, it was a tough run. And, if you guys are considering doing it, consider your age, consider how long it might take, consider how much money it might cost. The price of things did go up significantly.
Yeah.
And, that's all I have to say about that.
So I'd like to be a little more encouraging than that, but that's the reality. We are happy that we built what we set out to build, and we're finally moved in. And so I guess the other big question now becomes, what's next for us, and where do we go from here?
So for me, many of you guys know that I started back at school. I'm trying to seek a degree in radiography, and eventually after that I'm going to go on for CT. Kind of short-term plans at this point because it'll take me about another year to finish up school. And then Jeremy's going to continue working on the house. There's still a lot to be done.
Right.
We still have trim that we need done, tile that needs done, a lot of finish work inside. He's going to be building all of our furniture, and I look forward to having that done because I know he's going to do a fantastic job making beds, making tables.
Let me talk about that for a second. We went to a huge furniture mart a couple weeks ago because we live in an area where it used to be the furniture capital of the country. And I don't think there was anything there for less than $1,000. It was all exorbitantly expensive, and it wasn't very good quality. So that's when I decided, all right, I can make a lot of this and make it exactly to our specification for a lot less money with a lot higher quality. So there'll be a few of those projects that I'm going to video for you. I just wanted to talk about that because I couldn't believe how expensive furniture was.
So we're looking forward to that. So he's going to be making some beautiful furniture. If you guys want to see how he does that, stick with us. And like I said, the finish work and of course, outside landscaping, we're going to be working on that. That's going to be a whole project probably starting in the spring. And a lot of the things that we're going to start incorporating are raised beds. We talked a lot about that. We want to do a lot of berry bushes. We want to do some fruit trees. We want to improve this view, maybe do a little bit of permaculture on the property. And once we get this home base set up, we'll start spreading out from there, and we'll start working on the rest of the property. We have a lot of ideas, a lot of plans that we want to incorporate into this property as some ways to make the property pay for itself. If you're considering building your own home, if you guys are in that position where you are debating whether or not to wait the 2 to 3 years to find a contractor or start one yourself, I hope we provided some valuable information to you. If you guys want to know how we built any of this house, we have it entirely on video. We have a playlist that we're going to leave down below every step of the way. And one of the things that we are looking very much forward to is putting this, going back off grid. Not entirely off grid, but we're going to have off grid capabilities. We did a whole video segment on how we took our trailer off grid, or it was off grid, but we implemented solar down there. And we're going to bring all that up here, and we're going to make this off grid as well, at least the primary components.
Right, so the trailer has been off grid the entire time we've been here for 5 years, and it's performed really well. This house is now connected to permanent power, so when we bring all that stuff up here, we're going to be on a hybrid system. We'll always be connected to the grid just as a backup, but then the solar is primarily going to run everything. We do have a good amount of power outages out here, very remote, because we're on the end of the line. And when that happens, up until now, we never knew. And a neighbor would call and say, hey, do you have power? And we'd be like, of course we have power. So we never knew when the power went out up here on the mountain.
But it does go off frequently. We get a lot of storms. We're actually right now starting hurricane season. And very likely we're going to have power outages. We do get a lot of ice storms. You might have seen some of those in our videos. So definitely having that off-grid capability is going to be important up here. Getting the generator up here, making sure that everything is going to operate as normal as possible if we do have grid down issues.
Yeah, so we're kind of all in or nothing. So we always go to one extreme and then the other extreme, and then we figure out the best combination of everything, and that's what we settle on. So living off grid in a trailer for 5 years versus moving here and being on grid, we're going to do a hybrid, which is pretty much how we usually end up.
So a lot of things coming up. If you guys are interested, stick with us, and hope this has been helpful, and nice seeing you.
Yeah, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Also, check out this sunset.